awfully loud for a bunch of librarian fans. We'll let it work. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 10th, 2024 Troy City Council meeting. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. We give you thanks, O Heavenly One, for this beautiful day and for the many blessings you've given each and every one of us here in the city of Troy. We ask that you continue to bless us this evening through this meeting, and not just here in council chambers, but throughout our entire city, especially being careful and mindful of our first responders who are doing so much to keep our city safe, and all of our residents who need your help, whether they can ask or are not comfortable doing so. Please be with us all. In his name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the June 10th, 2024 Troy City Council meeting is called to order, and I'll ask for the roll call from Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga? Here. Councilmember Chanda?
Here.
Councilmember Gunn?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Here.
All present this evening. First up are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have three. C1 is the Children from St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church Opa Fest presentation, and that'll be introduced by Cindy Stewart, our Community Affairs Director.
That Opa Fest is just around the corner, and we have some wonderful friends from St. Nick's that are going to come tell you all about it.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Hey guys. Oh.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and esteemed City Council members. We would like to invite you and all residents to St. Nicholas's 31st Annual Opa Fest. We'll be having the festival from June 21st to the 23rd. We have many activities such as Greek food, folk dance performances from our children here. They dress up in all traditional costumes, cooking demonstrations, a cultural exhibit, children's games, and church tours as well. Admission will be $3 per person, or you can donate 3 cans, which will be going to Gleaner's Food Bank. Our hours for Friday and Saturday will be from 4 to 11 p.m., and on Sunday it will be from 12 to 8 p.m. Our opening ceremonies will be held on Friday at 6, and today we've brought some sweets with you, and we hope to see you all there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for coming.
Ready, please? Ready?
Oh.
So like that's it? Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Next up is C2. It's a proclamation to recognize Troy High School senior Anya Shah as a U.S. Presidential Scholar. You meet me down at the podium, Anya.
Good, how are you?
It's a big deal. You know, you've been getting a lot of attention for it in a good way because it is an exciting thing. But I have a proclamation here to recognize Anya, and I'm going to read it into the record. So whereas Troy High senior Anya Shah has been named a U.S. Presidential Scholar, one of only 2 in the state of Michigan and 1 of 100 in the entire country, and whereas inclusion in the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program is one of the highest honors bestowed upon graduating high school seniors, and whereas Anya was among 13 semifinalists in the state earlier named by the Commission on the U.S. Presidential Scholars. Scholars are selected based on their accomplishments in academic and artistic success, career and technical fields, leadership, strong character, and involvement in the school community. And whereas of the 3.7 million students expected to graduate from high school this year, more than 5,700 candidates qualified for the 2024 awards determined by outstanding performance on the College Board SAT or ACT exams, or through nominations made by chief state school officers and other partner recognition organizations. And whereas Troy High's principal, Ramo Roncone, shared pride in Anya's achievement, stating that this amazing award is a testament to her hard work, dedication, and academic excellence. Anya credits her success because of the support of her wonderful mom, dad, grandparents, the Troy School District, and teacher, Mrs. Katie Vitale. And whereas Anya will attend Johns Hopkins University in the fall, majoring in public health and computational biology, which is on the pre-med track. She is inspired to continue her academic research, social justice, and legislative work. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council congratulate Anya Shah and extend best wishes as she continues to pursue her goals and positively impact our community and beyond. And be it further resolved that the Troy City Council and all of Troy's residents congratulate Anya Shah for being a shining example of how hard work, dedication, and the support of families and teachers will contribute to a student accomplishing great things and finding success in all future endeavors. Anya, this is presented this 10th day of June 2024, signed by myself as the mayor. All members of our Troy City Council have signed it. I congratulate you. I know we all do. You're a superstar. Well, I have to say something funny. So about a month ago, I guess, I was having lunch with Dr. Macheski, and you came up because we were talking about, she's an exceptional hard worker, and I don't know what I was referencing, whether it was something from some school event, but you're a presence everywhere. You've been working really, really hard. But he was talking about you, and I thought it was funny that flash forward, here we are. But you've been a very big part of our Troy School District, and certainly we're going to be proud of you as we watch you move forward in your path. So please say a few words if you'd like to. Thank you.
I mean, this has been such an amazing honor, and I'm so incredibly grateful, but more to, of course, my parents and my grandparents, but then more than anything, the city of Troy, the city council, you, Mr. Ethan Baker, you have been such an amazing example and an amazing role model for the community of Troy and beyond, and I'm so grateful to be accepting this award. And I think you all here today indirectly supported me and directly supported me. So thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it.
And of course, she loves the library. All right, next up is C3, the Library Strategic Plan, and that'll be started and introduced by Emily Dumas, our Library Director.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I am so proud to introduce the 2024 to 2008 Strategic Plan for Troy Public Library. This is a culmination of a year of hard work, research, collaboration, and community engagement. Just to give you a little bit of the backstory, when I became the director, one of my early goals was to develop a strategic plan for the library. I feel like it's something very important for an incoming director because it kind of gives you a feel for the landscape as well as allows you to collaborate with your new team on some unified goals. We went through the competitive bid process, and we were fortunate enough to hire Rethinking Libraries to be our consultants on this project. They have truly been a pleasure to work with. They have engaged the community like I have never seen before, and I can truly say that every member of the public and every member of the staff has had an opportunity to participate and have a voice in this plan. This is the third strategic plan of my career, and I have to say it's different than anything else I've been through. And I know that Rob said something similar too, he and his teammates. The reason why is that standard strategic plans, they usually outline some of the shortcomings of maybe some of the services or some of the improvements that the staff could be making. And what we found out early on is that there was an issue that emerged that really eclipsed all of those other standard strategic plan goals, and that is the challenge posed by our aging facility. What we realized early on was that the realities of our outdated and deteriorating infrastructure can't be ignored. So I would like to say, before turning it over to Rob, that although there were some unpleasant truths in the finding, there's also a lot of positives and a lot of room for opportunities. This plan really serves as a comprehensive blueprint for what the library should and can become, and we're all looking forward to those next steps. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Cullen from Rethinking Library, and he's going to present the strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Appreciate the time and opportunity to share some of the journey that we went through on this. If it'll work. Is there a direction I need to point this? No. Maybe it's a different slide deck. I don't know who launched the presentation. Well,
Yeah, there should.
They're working on it.
just in case I'm gonna pull up my laptop so I can at least refer to.
I'm trying now.
There we go. Okay. Let's get back to the start. All right. So appreciate the time this evening. Rob Cullen, founder, managing principal of Rethinking Libraries. We're a national library consulting firm. We work with libraries, exclusively public libraries all across the country. Over 2 decades history working with libraries, and since 2014, worked with over 125 public libraries on strategic planning, facility assessment, and design. And even though we're not a Michigan-based company, we've actually done more work in Michigan than any other state in the country. So a lot of work in particular in the Detroit metro area. Our approach, as Emily talked about, our approach is very community-focused and driven. We're really about trying to get as much of the community input into the process as possible, focusing on identifying what stakeholders are looking for in the community from their library. I want to emphasize that, obviously, as Emily mentioned, this is, the facility came up really early in the process as an issue, but we're not the consultants you hire because you want a new library building. In our whole history, we've only recommended a new library a couple of times. Kind of building on that, we did something we've never done in our history. And part of this is we wrote a letter from myself and my business partner, Janet Nelson, about the state of the library, and we thought the importance that the city needed to put on really looking at replacing essentially a functionally obsolete facility with multitude of problems. So that's part of the package, part of the report that you would have gotten in your deliverable as well. So shifting back to the community engagement, robust as we always do, very focused on getting as much input as possible. We had over 2,700 survey responses completed, which is a per capita record for our firm. We had a robust participation from the community. I think almost the entire staff had an opportunity to engage in the process one or another. Several of you we interviewed on a one-on-one basis back in the fall, gathering input from council. We've been on site multiple times, so really just trying to really get into that. Looking at some of that input, survey in particular, high support for the library. Libraries are always typically something that's fairly high support. You're a few percentage points even above what we see as typical. But I think in particular, one of the places where we see, if you look at the right hand of the graph, yes, some of those numbers are like things around the facility and as the facility meeting folks, residents' needs, those are much lower than we normally see. So even in the survey, we started seeing signs of that disappointment and dissatisfaction with the facility. Overall, super high support for the library, as I mentioned, not just as a building, not just as that traditional place for books, but as a place for people to make social connections. I think the community, obviously you guys have, as the presentation before shows, an incredibly strong commitment to education. And I think that's what the community wants from the library as well. They want the library to be a further representation of this city's commitment to education. This library is is a very highly utilized library. Door counts and circulation and things are all well above average, but where this library really stands out is in the utilization level. When we were here on site, I did constant kind of walk-arounds. Never were below 90% utilization of the tables in the library. Tonight, before we came over, I walked around at about 6:15. 6:15, most libraries are starting to wind down. 100% of the tables had people sitting at that. That is not a normal situation in libraries. Your utilization is, there's people that aren't coming because there's just not enough places for them to go. Even 50% of the tables in the meeting room that's been set up as an overflow area for people to work, even 50% of those tables were utilized. So your utilization, your dwell times are way, way, way above average. So your utilization is really at the top. Things we heard from the community wanting a lot, and a lot of things you don't have or things you just don't have enough of. Use space being very high at the top of that, but improved accessibility, just lots of accessibilities that you'd expect in a building of this age. And so expectations from the community that be dramatically improved. Just size in general, the library here is at about 0.57 square feet per capita. National average is in the 0.8 to 1.2 range, so well below that. The Metro Detroit area is kind of in the upper lower part of that, but at 0.9 square feet per capita. But very few of those libraries are getting the utilization level that you're seeing here. The staff areas in particular, I think that's one of the biggest areas where this library is really deficient and causing issues that aren't always seen. I know some of you have been able to get over and take a tour of the library. If you haven't had a chance to do that, I've been in over 1,000 public library buildings in my career. When you walk in it, the pictures don't do it justice. You really see those deficiencies. Your youth office in particular has become a point of unfortunate comparison to what we share around to other folks, and so really seeing some of those things firsthand is important. So yes, you've been making some investments, but it's as multiple people said across the community engagement, there's been a lot of lipstick put on the pig. It's maybe time to get a new pig. So. We looked at, part of this, we looked at data. We didn't just talk to people, we were looking at data. There's a lot of benchmarks and comparisons in the report and the analysis that was utilized to develop the plan. Just looking at just some of the notable libraries from the area, lots of deficiencies. Troy is coming up at the low end of almost everything in terms of size, lack of study rooms, key components that people are expecting in the library. We did a baseline space needs analysis, a very preliminary kind of quick one because that wasn't part of our overall scope. Our kind of estimates on a programmatic basis is this library needs at very minimum 82 to 83,000 square feet. I would say if you really adjust that for utilization, you're looking at over 90,000 square feet. It's a building in crisis, as I mentioned, staff spaces in particular. It's just some images from just the constrained spaces, some of the environmental issues that have been creeping up with the building. Elevators breaking constantly, public spaces just not having the sufficient space to meet the needs of the community. So all of that, as we're kind of working through the whole process, we still have to get a strategic plan put together. So we were kind of at a quandary, how do you really effectively put a strategic plan together when essentially what would normally be this, services and engagement and effective staff built upon this foundation of a facility when the facility is as limiting a factor as it is. So we kind of built this with the library's marketing team, we built this kind of visual concept to kind of display that. But we still move forward and develop the plan, looking at things like engagement and communications, looking at the programming and resources that the community is expecting. We developed 4 focus areas. So the facility clearly was number one, and looking at how does the community move forward and make some kind of improvement with that facility space. Working in cooperation with the city leadership, with council, to try and find some path forward on addressing the limitations and problems there. addressing the issues that this is causing with staff and some of their, the limits that it's putting on their capabilities, not having the space to do their jobs effectively and efficiently, or just healthily, right? Just in a space that supports adequate kind of mental health in your job. And engagement and communication, this is an area, almost every library we work with, this ends up being one of their key focus areas. It's just a place in particular libraries are not kind of meeting the mark on a national level. I will say, actually, this library was actually doing better than most, right? So this is far less deficient here than we're seeing in a lot of libraries across the country. But given some of the nature and the uphill battle that a new facility can always be, this is going to have to be an A+ level on the community, in terms of community engagement and communication. So it still ended up being a focus area. And then all the other things that come with the library, programs, resources, services. How does the library really kind of cut through the limitations of the facility, put themselves in position that if the facility can be addressed, that they can really springboard into leveraging a new or updated facility into even higher levels of service that this community expects and wants and it will utilize and already is. So all of that was part of the high-level plan. We're working with the team now. We've taken all that, put it into a template for a work plan. The high-level plan I mentioned kind of is a 5-year horizon or more. The annual work plans are done on a 12-month basis. They're at a really detailed level, measurable level. So we're still working with them on developing that, and that'll happen each year. And part of our package that's prepaid in it is we come back every year to help with that process, and that's covered in our initial fees. So where do we go? There's lots of options. Throughout one of the things we did was a leadership workshop with community leaders and library staff, looking at all the different aspects of, what do we prioritize? What's the keys? The different options in terms of the building. And so really looking through those kind of options. I think as Emily already mentioned, they're already kind of continuing that community engagement through a transparency portal on the library's website. So continuing that process. But where do you go next? I think obviously working towards a decision, I think some things we would recommend in our work is actually doing a full kind of community needs assessment around the building itself. Like I said, we touch these things, but we didn't come in trying to do a building project, so we didn't do some of the things you would normally do. But more importantly, probably working with an architectural partner to really do some feasibility studies on what's possible. If you need 90,000 square feet, what are the options for it? Current site, other sites. The community expressed a strong preference to us that the library stay in the civic complex area, immediate in or immediately adjacent. So where are the options for that? Continue that community engagement. Start looking at your possible funding solutions. How are you, is it, what are your options there? And I think one of the things that we think is in particular is any kind of public funding these days, these kinds of magnitude needs to have a private fundraising component to it as well. So starting to look at what is a capital campaign in terms of fundraising that parallels into this. What does that start to look like? So appreciate your time and happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Rob. Reminder to council, we have a study session on this 2 weeks from tonight at 6 o'clock where we should really hone in on the issues there, and not get ahead of our skis tonight, I guess is my only point. But so any general questions for Rob? And actually, I do want to start with a question for city management. Could we get this slide deck in preparation for our meeting 2 weeks from tonight? And I imagine it would help you if we didn't ask certain questions tonight, if we sent them in writing to you in advance of the study session, it might help you plan for that as well.
Yeah, presentations like this, we usually post on the website after the meeting under late submittals. Right. That way, our presenter doesn't get scooped by his own presentation ahead of time. So it'll be on the website tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. That's questions, high-level questions from council now. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you for this. Telling me a lot of things I already knew, but it's good to see it. I've been going to this library the entire 40 years of my life, and I know we need a new library. So what I heard is you'll continue to work with us for 5 years, is what you were saying, and that includes, if we got funding for the new facility, you would be involved in, you said, the process with architecture to kind of figure out how it would look and all that. I know that you said facilities aren't your expertise, but what would our collaboration look like in a world where we do get the funding and we do go ahead with the plan and stuff?
Yeah, we definitely, so the 5-year part is part of the strategic planning, coming back once each year to help the team with the next annual work plan. But we do a lot of facility design. If we're doing design, we're typically either partnered with the architect or we're actually on the side of the library city as a kind of expert advisor on this side of the table in collaboration with the architect, but not on their specific team. So we absolutely have a lot of experience in doing that as well, so.
And then when you say private funding, like
Yeah.
what level of private funding are we looking? How does that look in other communities?
So like my business partner lives in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. They're doing, I think they have a $30 million addition renovation they're doing. And I think their fundraising goal is something in the $2.5–3 million range.
Okay.
So, but that's something that, one thing that's not in our expertise at all is capital campaigns. So
That's okay.
not something we have deep expertise on, so.
Councilmember Gunn.
So your experience as far as consulting with the libraries, what has been your experience, I guess, in terms of rebuilds versus retrofitting?
So I mentioned that we're not the consultants you hire because you want to build just go build a new library, right? And the vast majority of our projects, facility-wise, have been things that have been more renovation, reallocation of space, modest to minor expansions. So we have deep expertise there. You're not going to do that here. The layout of this building is just broken. It's just, like I said, it's functionally obsolete. It's built in a way, the original building and then how things were added on. In my experience, doesn't lend itself kind of to adjustment. But ultimately, that's why you need an architect to come in and really look at the bones of the facility, look at the site, and bring that architectural expertise beyond just kind of my, library layout knowledge.
Were you by any chance involved in the Belleville one?
Not in the Belleville one, no. No.
All right.
Yep.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. I recognize this is a presentation about the strategic plan.
Yep.
If we wanted to reference the strategic plan, is that available, or when would that be available if we wanted to actually look at that document?
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. So that should have been in the packets. So we submitted that uploaded that to the site. So I believe it's in the board packet. So the plan is a part of a report that's got, I think it's 112 pages. So it contains not only the plan itself, but like the survey, the community input, and all the kind of supporting document and analysis we did as well.
Excellent. Love strategic planning. So just to confirm with City Manager Brunner, it will be with the presentation.
Awesome. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yep. That one, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just jump into, Rethinking Libraries did put together a report too for council that you should be receiving too, that lays out all of the results. And also the entire thing with all of the comments can be found on our strategic plan website, which is troypl.org/plan. So if you want to read the whole thing from beginning to end, for transparency's sake, we put it all out there for everybody. It also has many of the photographs. We use those kind of as exhibits for the things that we're talking about when we're talking about the deficiencies in the building. You can go reference those photos. And as well, we also added a virtual tour. Our tours in person were so successful, and I'm always happy to offer those to anybody who would like to come take one in person, because I do think you need to take it in person to really experience it. But we did do a video tour too, so anybody's welcome to watch it. The QR code is posted as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Chanda.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I mean, it is obviously very close to a lot of people's heart, and it was mentioned. I mean, it's an A+ service in a C- facility. So is that plan the one that we are going to get? Is that going to have kind of a dollar amount in terms of the investment that might be needed?
As part of the process back in the fall, we tried to put some very, very rough numbers on some of the different possible options. If you've been kind of following construction costs, they are all over the map, rapidly going up, sometimes coming back down, depending on where the state of project stuff. So again, that's part of, I think, I wouldn't trust any of the real dollars that you see in that, because it was more comparative than it was like actual plan. But that's part of, I think, what you would look for in the feasibility study. by the architect is some more fine, like market-specific construction estimates.
Any other questions? Oh, Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. So when you say the size of the building is not large enough, the footprint is not large enough, is that taking into consideration, what libraries may look like 20, 30 years down the road when we might have more digital, books and things like that?
Yeah, so a couple of things, and we speak to some of these trends in the strategic plan report as well. We're seeing that digital usage, though it had been growing, has leveled off in libraries across the country. So physical book reading is not going away. In fact, younger generations have a higher preference for physical books when it comes to pleasure reading, not for information gathering, but for pleasure reading. So we think the digital kind of content consumption piece is starting to level off. But if you look at the things that people want to do in the library, the kind of activities that they're wanting to do and where the interests are growing, those things are actually more space intensive than the books themselves. So whatever we're kind of diminishing in terms of physical holdings is being more than offset by the demand. I mean, Skokie Public Library wanted to go in and put in more study rooms than they could ever need. They put in like 35. They're still 90+% utilized. So those kind of demands are just increasing. So I think we feel comfortable that, particularly if you design a very flexible building, that you're always going to need this space in different ways.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question.
Any other questions?
All right.
Well, we'll hear some more tonight, I think, during public comment about the library, but we'll also talk a lot more about it from the table on the 24th. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again then. Thanks.
Thank you.
That concludes certificates of recognition and special presentations. There are no carryover items this evening or public hearings, so we do move on to public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We have a handful of folks signed up this evening who pretty much have been here before and know the rules. 3 minutes, yellow light, 1 minute, please stop at red. And with that said, we'll get started with Kathy Russ, of all people.
I've never done public comment before. I've never been on this side. So good evening, Mayor Baker and members of Troy City Council. I'm Kathy Russ, and from June of 2007 till December of 2020, I had the honor of being the director of the Troy Public Library. A little additional background on me, especially for those of you who may not know me. I grew up in Troy. I went to Hill Elementary, I went to Larson Middle School, and I graduated from Athens High School. I got my first library job at the Troy Public Library in 1991, and it was an extremely proud day for me when I became director in 2007. The Troy Library has been a huge part of my personal and professional life, and I care about it very much, which is why I'm here before you today. The idea of a new library building had been put forth by the Vision 2020 Citywide Strategic Planning Committee in 2005, and in 2007, it seemed like the time had come to make it happen. When I first became director in June of 2007, the first responsibility I was charged with was to get a feasibility study done on the possibility of a new Troy Library. Much of the information that was presented here tonight is familiar to me because it addresses the same concerns, issues, needs, and wants that residents expressed back in 2005 and 2007. We also did a community survey along with the feasibility study, and at that time, 76% of the community was in favor of a new library. Unfortunately, by the time the results of the survey and the feasibility study were presented to City Council in January of 2008, the Great Recession had begun. This led to the library millage wars of 2010 and 2011, and a decade when the library was only open 6 days a week because of inadequate funding. 17 years ago, this community wanted and needed a new library, but a host of adverse circumstances prevented that from happening. I am delighted the Troy City Council is seriously considering it again. Over the course of my 13 and a half years as director of the Troy Public Library, I heard many times from many people and from many of you that the library is the jewel in Troy's crown. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Troy Library has a wonderful staff, fantastic programs and services, and a top-notch collection. Isn't it time that the library building reflected that too? I hope you will agree with me that it is time that the Troy Public Library facility reflected the dynamic, diverse, innovative community that it serves. And P.S., in case some of you are wondering, I want to save you some time and let you know that a key finding of the 2008, 2007, 2008 feasibility study was that it is not feasible to put a second floor on the Troy Public Library. Structurally, it will not permit it. I figured you might be wondering, so you're welcome.
All right. Oh, guys. All right. Applauding is disfavored in our rules, as you all know. Next up is April Church, who has laryngitis, I understand.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is April Church, and as you know, I'm the president of the Friends of the Troy Public Library. I do apologize for my voice, but what I want to say is important to me, so I'll be short, sweet, and to the point. Last month, I stood here and encouraged and even begged you to take a behind-the-scenes tour of the library to prepare for tonight's meeting. I am here tonight to let the people of Troy know that every one of you met with Mrs. Dumas and Mr. Quick and took an extensive tour of the library, which included the cleared and gutted Friends Bookshop located in the basement, which, by the way, had its grand reopening this past weekend. More importantly, I want to thank you for the time you took from your families and careers to make this happen. Your willingness to go above and beyond to understand the challenge of the library faces on a daily basis is greatly appreciated. I invite you all to visit our bookshop now that it is up and running and clean and acceptable to allow you in on any given weekend. We would love to see you there. Thank you for your kind attention and your dedication to our wonderful city.
Oh, no. No time to applaud, please. I'll get meaner with the gavel as we go on, so please. Next up is Lauren. I don't have a last name.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Lauren Haddo, and I will be speaking on the topic of the library. Ever since I can remember, I've always had a connection to the Troy Public Library, and I understand the many important roles that it plays in our community. This past year, through strategic leadership and communication, I implemented my Girl Scout Gold Award in partnership with the library to provide neuro-affirming support for all patrons. My Gold Award project mission was to provide these neuro-affirming supports to increase all patrons' sense of belonging in the library. In order to achieve this, I created a library communication flipbook and provided sensory supports and neuro-affirming books to the Universal Access section. I created a sustainable website full of information on neurodiversity, augmentative and alternative communication, and sensory processing disorder that is available to library staff and the community. I chose to focus on this topic for my Gold Award because I love the library. It's my favorite place to go, and I'm grateful that I've gotten to enjoy all that it has to offer over the years. My goal is that through these supports and materials, more individuals will be able to feel the same sense of belonging and inclusion that I've always enjoyed. Concerning other initiatives, I was recently elected to the co-presidential role of the Teen Advisory Board at the library. Together, we work closely and thoughtfully to create programs for tweens and teens in our community. I've been a member of this advisory board for a few years now, and I'm honored to be a new leader of such a dedicated group of teens in our community. We are all hardworking, dedicated, and passionate about leveraging our collective skills and talents to create interactive and exciting programs and endeavors for fellow community members, such as helping to plan the Teen Summer Reading Program and volunteering and planning other events attended by all ages. The library is integral in our group's view, as well as many others in our community, yet seldom receives the same up-to-date renovations that other libraries in the area employ. Teens value the library beyond a place to read, but to study and to connect with others through volunteering and other activities. To continue these efforts, it is critical that our library is kept in prime condition and is adapted to fit the needs of a community that sees it in such a high regard. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lauren. Next up is Vanessa, also no last name.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Liu, and I love the library. I'm a resident of Troy and a student at Troy Athens High School and a volunteer at the Troy Public Library. I appreciate all this council has done for the city and the people, so I hope you're able to take action on these ongoing problems at our library. The Troy Public Library is in need of an expansion and more funding. Students like me utilize the library very often, especially during exam week. And I found it difficult to find seating in the study areas during the busy weeks that students are studying for tests. This is why I wish for an expansion of the library and more seats available. I know my friends have left the library to study at cafes instead of the library because there were no seats available. I've even seen some of my friends go to the children's areas to sit at the open tables because all the seats were occupied. I've seen other libraries as well, such as Bloomfield Library and Rochester Library, and I've seen their advanced buildings compared to ours. I prefer going there instead, but it takes me 15 to 25 minutes to drive there, while Troy Public Library is more convenient. Troy is considered a wealthy city, but our library does not reflect that. They have an abundance. The other libraries have an abundance of study areas and private study rooms so students can study in groups without disturbing anyone. I remember studying in the teen section of TPL and overhearing a group of students talk to each other. I and other people around me were unable to focus on our work, and this can be prevented if private study areas were available. An expansion of the library is necessary because there isn't a way to add new space without sacrificing current resources. I ask that this council makes our city a priority. We need more rooms. We need our library to keep up with the rest of the world, and we need to optimize learning for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Durga Rajesh. Yeah.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Durga Rajesh. Communities, knowledge, and opportunities are the three pillars I believe TPL, Troy Public Library, has been built on. First of all, I want to address the abundance of opportunities at Troy Public Library. For example, from summer programs that allow kids, youth, and teens to stay in the growth of excitement and reading and teamwork, developing skills even over the summer. The library has several programs every year supporting and helping kids to adults in improving and developing certain skills while bringing the community together. This is a landmark location for me and most definitely other teens and especially high school students. Even the day before yesterday, I remember after finishing volunteering work and studying for the finals, which is starting in less than 24 hours, I remember bumping into so many of my friends from Troy High School. Being able to see them outside of school during weekends offers us a chance to deepen our connections and bond throughout the years of high school. Some of us even start from middle school. Since I just mentioned volunteering, I want to mention how grateful we are for the plethora of weekly volunteering opportunities Troy Public Library Friends has generously provided us. Friends are an important part of the library and a high school student's life, providing support for programs, developing important skills, and volunteer hours that are further used for future opportunities. Not only the quantitative volunteer hours, but the bond it helps grow between different high schools. This friendship and community not only lasts 4 years, but even the chapters that lie in our life ahead. Troy Public Library is more than a place where we can borrow books. It is an energetic center of community, learning, and opportunities. It is an enriching environment where individuals of all ages develop essential skills from lasting connections and foster a love for reading. Our library's commitment to offering diverse programs and volunteer opportunities not only supports our growth, but also strengthens the bonds within our community. We must nurture and expand these opportunities so that future generations can also experience the beautiful life Troy Public Library has given us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Linda Bellion.
Good evening. I'm Linda Bellion. We're on the Friends of the board on the board of the Friends and also the manager of the bookshop. I want to give some good news first, and that's that as of June 1st, Saturday, we were able to get all of our books back to the shop so that we could reopen this weekend. The bad news is that on Sunday, June 2nd, the library elevator broke yet again. So there are consequences when one thing keeps breaking down over and over again. And in the case of the elevator, in January of 2023, the elevator was upgraded to the tune of about $73,000. Well, that lasted 6 months before issues developed, and the library was out of commission for several days at a time at several different times. And in November, it was shut down for an entire month. And now the elevator broke 8 days ago. And the costs are not only expensive, but the parts are hard to come by, and the elevator is from the 70s. But the cost isn't the only issue. There are consequences each time the elevator goes out. Our volunteers have to use the stairs to go downstairs and work in the library bookshop. Some of our volunteers are older. They can't do the stairs, so they can't do their work. Our donations can't be taken downstairs. This is our stock. It's what we sell each and every week. If our stock can't be downstairs and we can't replenish ourselves, we're effectively out of business. The staff has been great. They kindly bring down our donations from the lobby when the bins are full. But right now, they can't do this when the elevator's broken, and our donations have to go somewhere. And space is truly an issue. So the meeting room is often the only available place to store them. Staff puts boxes on the floor and in bins. It takes up a lot of space, and the meeting room is being used for programs at the very same time. It's not a good look, especially after 8 days. This is what, as of Saturday when we left, a corner of the meeting room, a public space, looked like in our library. This isn't a good optic for us. Lastly, it affects our customers and our donors. Our very first weekend open after 4 months, we had to make the announcement that the shop was only open to customers who could use the stairs and take their purchases up this very same way. It's not only unacceptable, but it's also not ADA compliant. Our donations come in on Saturdays through usually the loading dock for large donations. Our teen to volunteers are great, and they bring them downstairs on the elevator. Not this week. They had to stand in front of the library and load them onto carts and haul them into the meeting room, right through the lobby of the library. So one hiccup has a domino effect. It affects the staff, the donors, and the patrons. And it's never just a one repair, once and done. That's the issue. There'll be another, and yet another repair, and in the reasonably near future. This is just one elevator. The same issue happens with everything. With the roof that was repaired, it continues to leak, and every other system that we have in an aging building. On a good note, and maybe a commercial, the downstairs bookshop is open again, so please come and shop with us. We're open Saturdays from 10 to 1, and on Sundays from 1 to 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Sue Matthews.
Good evening, Mayor Baker, Council, Administration. I'm here tonight, obviously, to speak about the library, if you've heard my name before. I've lived in Troy most of my life, and so I think I beat out Councilman Hamilton for using the library because I started at about age 3, or when the original building first opened. I had my first job at the library. I brought my children there frequently as they would study and need books and want to read. And when closure seemed imminent in 2011, I became part of the group with Councilwoman Hodorek that helped pass that first successful millage. Our delight at that soon dwindled because as soon as we won, we found out that millage was never going to be enough to properly staff the library, build the collection, or maintain that building. Twice more, we came back for millage increases, and we did win them, but as costs increase, it still was never going to be enough. And now that you've seen the library, all of you, you understand some of those major problems. As a result of all that work for the funding and the millages, I decided to join the Friends of the Troy Public Library and became the president for over 7 years. In that role, I gained even more insight for a building that I had spent much time in. I've seen every inch of it. And we know what the problems are. We had so much water come in that we cheerfully called the back section of storage the flood zone. We dealt with inconsistent heating and cooling throughout the building. Most recently, the mold issue that forced a closure of the basement bookshop, a bookshop that we put over $40,000 in to improve and now has had to be closed a few times because of the building itself. The elevator, as you know, only works when it feels like it. So you can imagine the impact that has on our ability to raise funds for the library to provide the programming and other enhancements. So beyond everything else you've heard, the very nature of the library is at risk when we can't provide the money for it. So much money has been spent figuring out long-term feasibility, improvements. We've thrown thousands of dollars at bad problems that continue to grow and grow. And the thin budget that we work with the millage, can't handle it. It is time to stop throwing good money after bad. The only thing that we can do at this point is to make real the dream that we've had for this new building, and we're counting on you to help us make that happen. The findings from that outside independent study make it clear that a new building is not only what the Troy citizens want, but what we wholly deserve. And we need a library for the ages, for all ages, so that we can continue on in the spirit on which our whole city was founded. We need the library of tomorrow, today. On behalf of Mrs. Bellion, we'd like all of you that are here to support the library to please stand for us. Thank you.
That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now is an opportunity for City Council and City Administration to respond and reply. Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
This is a little bit surreal. As the last public commenter just said, we go back a long time fighting for just keeping the library open. Library Director Kathy Russ gave a really great history. She politely did not include how ugly the fight for our library became in this community. The library became a political football, and that's why we've ended out with compromised millage levels. We just keep taking care of it halfway. The good news is our facilities team here in the city has MacGyvered the heck out of that building over the years. The bad news is that building has been MacGyvered over the years. The Friends are giving pictures of what they deal with. The staff offices, it's just wrong where we're asking them to work. It's wrong for us to lean on a facilities team and ask it to keep a building functioning that is functionally obsolete. It's wrong for my tax dollars to keep getting thrown at issues to help a building limp along when it is a facility that is well-loved, hyper-utilized. It's just a part of this community. There is an expectation when people move here with their families that the library is going to be a whole lot more than what they encounter when they walk through the door the first time they take their small children there. It doesn't meet the needs. This was a conversation, I am literally having a deja vu all over again. This is a conversation that goes back to the mid-2000s. I was part of that Vision 2020 team. Be careful what you speak up for, because you can end out in a city council position in a heartbeat. The politics of this were downright ugly. And I guess I would like to do a call to action as we are having this dialogue as a community to not let our beloved library become such a thing again. Campaign politics are constant. They go on constantly. Find something else to use and pretend needs to be kicked around and make stuff up about. Let's not do it about the library, a key asset of the community. You know, I'm in my third term on council. We were thrilled to get millages passed just to keep it open. 6 days a week seemed awesome at the time. 7 days we were jumping up and down. For those who supported those millages, who are wondering where's the capital funding going, why isn't that enough? It's just not enough. The mayor mentioned we have a study session in a couple of weeks. We have a fiduciary responsibility as your council representatives to have this discussion in a really fiscally responsible way that takes into account our taxpayers and their expectations, that takes into account a really, really wonderfully conservative, solid city budget and the priority services that we have to deliver. We will continue to do that. I am so impressed with the level of engagement in the room again. I see some folks I go back, way back with, I see new faces. All those that did speak at public comment, if you have time, and it can wait till after finals are taken, to email those well-written and well-thought-out comments to us. I know all of us would appreciate having them in writing. and I don't mean to speak as long as I am, but it's a point of privilege. I'm in my third term. I would dearly love for us to constructively, it's not just us and staff that need to come along in this discussion. It is the community at large. And the community at large has already spoken clearly to these consultants. This is a serious responsibility to protect an asset, to properly take care of an asset in our community. And it takes a collective effort to do so logically and in a way that is befitting of Troy. We deserve better. We deserve better than what we've done as a community with this library. And I know we're at a place where we will do better. I can feel it, I can sense it. And I look forward to doing it because facilities MacGyvering the building further is just not. It isn't working. It is good money after bad, and it's our tax dollars that are going toward that. If you have a chance to tour online, and I think that's an awesome idea, please do that. I also know any resident can stop into the library, and our, I don't mean to volunteer our library director, but I know she is very engaged with the community. We had an email to that effect today, or a note to that effect today. If you're wondering and you want to see, please. And I really appreciate the constructive conversation that came to us here tonight. It's nice to have such a nice group of people beat us up. Keep beating us up. Please holding our feet. Our feet should be held to the fire. And you're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick. Councilmember Chanda.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick probably has said most of the things I wanted to say, and very eloquently, so I'm going to be brief. First of all, thank you for coming here and supporting it. It's so heartening to see community engagement and so much support for the library. Like many of you, it's very close to my heart. My son grew up there, he studied there. I studied myself when I was going to grad school, and we did a lot of activities, so I see that this is the crown jewel of our city. We are a city known for our educational excellence, and I can't imagine a city like Troy without A-plus libraries. So it is a challenge. I mean, we are throwing away good money for the bad building, so that is something I don't feel very good about, but we have to keep the library going. So, but we are going to work. It's coming in a couple of weeks, and definitely come up with a solution that's best for everyone. So, but thanks for all the comments, all the things that was said, and sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Chanda. Additional council comment? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had this thought, listening to all of you speak, and I can't speak to the history that Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick spoke to, and thank you, Kathy Russ, thank you, reminding us in 2007, the same fight, the same desire, the same needs existed. The thing that just I was reminded of, and maybe there's a way that this can help us move forward collectively as we think about the wider community, is we just passed a master plan literally a couple weeks ago, or maybe that was our last council meeting. And in it, there is a whole section, a vision about education and about us focusing. We are a city of education, as we just talked about. And a big part of that was about how do we find synergies between our library, the school district, and other aspects of our community, and how that's tied into development. That's tied into people wanting to come into our community and the housing needs and demands. And so it just made me think there's actually a beautiful vision, even within our master plan, which is on development and land use, that speaks to education. It speaks to the power of the library and what a library does in a community. And so I'm reminded, I want to go back to that as we have these conversations and ask that we all kind of think about what are those synergies? Because I think that's how we can take this forward in the community, is knowing that it speaks to many different aspects of who we are in this community. Thank you for reminding me that, and thank you for educating me on the history. As someone who, my family, we chose Troy in the past decade, and so learning the history of what you all have fought for and how can we take this forward into the future.
Thank you. Any additional comments? My only one tonight is, I spoke a little bit about the library at the State of the City, and I'm happy to talk about it at length throughout the community. I do want to thank all of you for coming tonight, and it's good to see some of you, especially who I haven't seen in a while, and to come to the microphone and to share your passion once again. On that same note, as appreciative I am, as a reminder, in 2 weeks at our study session, we only have an hour, so although public comment is allowed, be wise with that time so we can have more time to discuss the issues. Of course, not trying to stop anybody from talking, because that wouldn't be right, but just as a good reminder, you did a really nice job of channeling everybody tonight, and I thank you for that. But we look forward to, or I look forward to talking more about the library in depth and what we can do to have this make sense for our community and get it going and continue the conversation. I think we're in a good place to keep this conversation going, which I know for a lot of you in the room is a big step ahead from where things had been. So I'm excited about that. And again, I thank all of you for coming. Next up, we have no postponed items, so we move on to regular business. I1 is board and committee appointments. There are no mayoral appointments or city council appointments this evening. So I2 is board and committee nominations. I do have some nominations this evening for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I'd like to move the renomination of Joseph Beyer and Joseph Vassallo to the terms expiring April 30th, 2027.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Crankey, that we approve the renomination of Joseph Beyer and Joseph Vassallo to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Any discussion? For the term expiring April 30th, 2027. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crankey?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, to the Local Development Finance Authority, or LDFA, I'd like to move the renomination and reappointment of Jim Schmitz and Fabrice Schmielauskas for the terms expiring June 30th, 2024.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve the renomination of Jim Schmitz and Fabrice Schmielauskas to the Local Development Finance Authority, LDFA, for the terms expiring June 30th, 2024. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crankey?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. That concludes mayoral nominations this evening. I don't believe there are any city council nominations this evening. We have no closed session requested, so we move on to I4, Amendment to Traffic Code, Temporary Deviation from Parking Regulations, and that'll be introduced by our city attorney, Lori Grigg-Bloom.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you is a proposed amendment to Chapter 107, and that would allow for deviations to the parking regulations. There are two ways in which that could occur. The first would be if there's a special event or something that is likely to generate a lot of traffic and additional parking is needed. It allows for an administrative waiver, so that's again making it more efficient. Secondly, there's a snow emergency provision in there, and that will be helpful to our snowplowers. And so this was presented to you as an informational item at your last agenda, and we are asking you to approve the proposed ordinance revisions at tonight's meeting. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton.
Just for Troy residents' knowledge, what does the snow emergency mean?
Snow emergency would require persons to remove their cars when there is a snow emergency, to remove their cars from the street so that the plowing can happen a lot easier. There will be notification that would be provided to a lot of the media, and also we put it on the website and everything as well.
And so when would it be a snow emergency? When, maybe Kurt knows this, but is it 4 inches of snow, or what was the threshold? I don't know. I forget exactly what it was.
Well, when they're needing to plow, when they feel that it's necessary for the cars to be removed from the street. That's so I can't give you an exact time because it maybe, it's,
And it has to be an affirmative act by city management, correct? It doesn't just automatically become a snow emergency. So it's not-
no, there has to be an affirmative declaration that a snow emergency exists, and then the notification to the residents so that they are aware that there is a snow emergency that has been declared.
Councilmember Gunn?
And in the event that a snow emergency is happening and they don't move a car, what happens?
Well, at this point in time, it's a civil infraction. So civil infraction could be issued for the cars that are in violation.
In English, that's a ticket.
Yeah. You'd be in the court system.
Thank you. She still won't say it. Councilmember Chanda?
Just for those who are watching, I mean, how are they notified? I mean, if somebody is not checking the website, for example, is there any other way it's notified?
Well, yes. So according to the language of it, we would share the information with the news media outlets. Again, we can't promise that they will convey that, but they usually do. There are snow emergencies that happen in a lot of other communities, and so that is frequently something that is posted. Obviously, our website will have that information. It's also possible that we will use some of our other fabulous Troy communication avenues to get the word out.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Thank you, Mayor. When it comes to special events like the Troy Traffic Jam, how will we address this up until now? Is it up to the organizers to provide additional parking, or how has that worked?
You have had some specific requests coming to you, especially for a frequent example is the High Holy Days that you have had to take action on. This is a cleaner way, and it's also a more efficient way of having it done administratively.
Any other questions? Someone like to move the resolution? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
I'll move it. I'll move I-4, amendment to traffic code, temporary deviation from parking regulations as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, that we approve I-4, amendment to traffic code, temporary deviation from parking regulations as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
Something coming into my mind in terms of alerts to residents. If we have a boil water alert, we use the emergency alert system. Would we use that for this? Or could we, is it possible that that could be an avenue to push it as much as possible?
That's not within the ordinance language, but that does not preclude additional avenues. And again, I think our goal is certainly compliance, and so however we can get the word out,
okay.
That's going to be our goal.
Okay.
All right, the vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chanda, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Motion carries. If you're here for an item on the consent agenda this evening, all have been approved. We have no memorandums and future council agenda items tonight, so we move on to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We do have a couple signed up as well. So first up is Tom Meitzler. I believe he dropped something off on our table. Probably his comments he's about to give.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to address you all. My name is Tom Leitzler. I'm president of the Troy Tennis Club, and I've resided in Troy for more than 25 years. The Troy Tennis Club has been organized to play tennis on the courts for more than 30 years. We have many Troy residents on our membership list. For 26 years, we were allowed to reserve the Troy tennis courts at Bolin Court for our twice-a-week organized mixer events, Wednesdays 5 to 7 and Saturdays 10 to 12. In those past years, our club provided about $1,000 per year to the city of Troy, which the city of Troy put to good use in different programs. However, 4 years ago, for the first time, City of Troy Recreation Department refused us to reserve the Troy Bowling courts for our club after approving our request for previous 26 summer seasons. As a result, many of our members arrived to find all 8 courts packed with pickleball players, beginners groups, tennis instructors, and so on, and as a result, our membership is falling off. Most of our members are older and still enjoy playing tennis. They like to have a consistent time and place to play. Is it fair to make them wait for an open court while instructors make money teaching kids? They'd like to play when they get to the courts. We request only 2 courts for 4 hours total, Wednesdays 5 to 7, Saturdays 10 to 12. At Troy Bolin, there would be 6 remaining courts for any pickleball players or other tennis players to use at those times. The tennis instructors, as far as we know, provide no financial benefit to the city, and as a nuisance and actually a safety risk because of the stray balls to the other tennis players. Our club has a few players who reside outside of the city, but they often spend money that supports local businesses before and after their play. The city of Birmingham actually has long permitted its residents to reserve the public courts and still does. Birmingham allows non-residents to play on their courts, but only residents can reserve them. We recommend that the Troy Council consider expanding the number of public courts. I understand the city of Troy is under a lot of financial pressure. So in conclusion, we would appreciate the Troy City Council to issue a resolution that directs the Troy Recreation Department to issue us a permit for the Troy Tennis Club to reserve only 2 of the 8 bowling courts for 4 hours per week. Thank you for your attention. Some members of the Troy Tennis Club are here in attendance. I have a treasurer and various other people. You still got 20 seconds. So they're all active tennis players. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Tom. Next up is Walter Storrs.
Yeah, Mayor Baker, members of the Troy City Council, you probably recognize me as the Sylvan Glen 3 stormwater guy. I've been a resident of Troy for 52 years. For the vast majority of that time, I've been involved in city committees and volunteer one way or another, okay? About almost 6 months ago now, I sent a rather detailed letter to you all about what I am confident is a stormwater problem that the Sylvan Glen 3 homeowners are suffering with in a drain course from the Smith Martell schools down to Sylvan Glen Lake. Okay? I had enough specificity in there, I thought, to demonstrate the problem I was talking about. I cited several properties that I thought were in non-compliance, told you why I thought they were in non-compliance, and I'm very disappointed. I've heard nothing from you all. Now, I'm getting calls from the Troy Times reporters, and then the other day, I get an email from the city manager's office, respond to that email, I got another email back. It's just blatant stonewalling. You know, if your message is just go away and shut up, just tell me that. But right now, I'm frustrated and I am disgusted.
Thank you, Mr. Storrs. Next up is Diane Cipoletti.
Good evening, Most Honorable Mayor Ethan D. Baker and City Councilmen and City Councilwomen. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Fire Chief Peter Hollinger and Chief of Police Frank Natashzi for getting the word out about open burning requirements in the Troy Times dated March 21st, 2024, and the Troy Today Summer 2024. I know you are all working together, exploring the possibilities of banning open burning in Troy on air quality alert days. Thank you for your continued efforts on this important issue for the health, safety, and welfare for all the residents of Troy.
That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now's an opportunity for council and administration to respond and reply. I think I'll start. Regarding tennis, I'll be frank, I don't remember the reason given why the courts were taken away from the reservation system 4 years ago. I'm hoping we can get an update on that and some sort of formal response to the Troy Tennis Club's most recent request. I understand your frustration, Tom, and you continue to make good points, in my opinion, on this. And I understand there's been some change in the rules and some updating things that they've gone along, so I don't want to undercut Recreation Department's decision-making and how they operate their department in the city, so I have to be really careful with that. But unless anybody's prepared to answer that right off the bat, I don't think you probably are. But if we could get an update, a little bit of more information on that again, especially as we have 2 new members of council. We're in that process again. But thank you for coming forward tonight, and good to see all of you. And it's the night of standing up in support of your favorite part of Troy. I like that. Mr. Storrs, if you feel that we just want you to go away, I'm terribly sorry, because I know that's not our intent at all. Without passing the buck directly to the management, I'm going to anyway, because we just don't have the information or the knowledge to address your specific concerns, and we depend greatly on the ability of staff to handle them accordingly as they see fit in their operational capacity. I don't know that I can say much more than that, because I don't know the specifics. I do know your very lengthy and well put email that came to us, or letter that came to us, and I know that stormwater is a concern throughout our city, so I'm certainly not meaning to imply by any means that I don't believe what you're seeing on the ground and what you're bringing it forward and the good reasons you're bringing it forward. But again, I'm dependent on management to work through those issues and to provide anything. I don't know if Meg almost reached for the microphone, but it might have been outside of what she meant to do. That said, I think there's consensus to, again, push management for at least a better understanding of where we are and to address Mr. Storrs' concerns as directly as possible. I know it often feels like a response coming from City Hall, no fault of anyone in City Hall. It can seem like stonewalling, it can seem like it's missing a whole piece of the puzzle. There's some difficulty sometimes in dealing with these issues in that forum, but I'm hopeful that we can further address Mr. Storrs' concerns, and he's taken a lot of time to research the issue and put together a big packet of information, and he's come here at least 3 times that I can remember off the top of my head to speak about this issue, and it hurts me to think that he's feeling like we're just trying to push him off. So I'm looking at you, Meg, for some reason, because you're looking at me, but I should be directed at Bob. So there you go. Diane, thank you for your nice words, and appreciate the tone and tenor, as always, and we'll continue to look at the issues and remind everybody there is an open burning ordinance, please follow it to the letter, and if there's an issue and anyone's having, if you believe someone's violating that, call the non-emergency police line, and it can be properly handled. And even if it doesn't look like it's immediately handled, it's at least logged and registered in the system, and that's an important piece of it also. So additional comments, reply? Councilmember Gunn?
I want to offer my thanks to the Troy Police Department. A resident brought an issue to us that, to me, that
Hey,
on this issue.
is it relating to the public comment?
Yep, go ahead.
Is it? No?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll come back to you for council comment. How about that?
Yep.
All right, sorry about that. Anything else related in reply to the three? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, is it before Mr. Storrs leaves?
Can you hear me, Mr. Storr? You know, some. I just, one of the things that I did look at were the very specific dates that you provided of storm challenges at certain points, and I do know that, you know, the 500-year rains that, you know, they're called 500-year rains that happen like every 2 months now. I remember wrapping my head around the fact that we do need to keep looking at that in your area and throughout the city as we're looking at new development, because you were expressing concern rightfully. Are we looking at these things with our engineering team and whatnot? And I very much do pay attention when I'm watching Planning Commission discussions and even when plans are coming here regarding that. So you are, you're being heard and comprehended more than what might be visible to you. And as Mayor Baker said, with more of a response from city management, but you're not being ignored, and your concerns are duly noted. And I appreciate you letting us know exactly how it was feeling and wondering if you're being ignored. That's a fair question. And we will continue to pay attention to that. Again, not just in your area, but these questions and concerns come up throughout the city. Rightfully, residents are sounding an alarm here and there, and we do look at that in a comprehensive way. As our roads are redone, the infrastructure that happens under there. I see our DPW director sitting back there, and I know his head is swirling on this all the time. And so please know, regardless of what an email response looks like, I know my council colleagues are the same, we have this swirling through our head constantly. So we will continue to do that from our perspective on the policy side, you know, of the equation of addressing this. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to come.
Thank you. Sounds great. I'm from Missouri.
Motion carries. All right, any other response or reply needed? We're done? Okay. We don't have any council referrals this evening. We move on to reports. Any discussion on the Civil Service Commission Act 78 report? Can't imagine that there would be. All right, council comments. Councilmember Gunn, let's go to you.
Okay, yeah, back to, I want to thank the Troy Police Department. The resident brought an issue to me, and I think this is, at this time of year, it's very important that a particular store may have allowed seniors, high school seniors, to purchase alcohol, and they were coming from other cities knowing that this was okay. So I heard you guys stepped in, and I really appreciate that, because as seniors, we do not need a problem. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Additional council comments. Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been lots of happenings in Troy. I will leave the mayor to maybe share some of those. City Manager Miller has formally retired. Just rather recently, we have the new fiscal year begins July 1st. That's when the budget that we approve goes into effect. So encourage folks to check out the approved budget. We just had Run for Nature, which of course the mayor took part in. Councilmember Brooks is on the board of the Nature Center. And it's great to see all the volunteers, the sponsors, and to be out. I love the Troy Farm. I love the Nature Center, but I also love the Troy Farm. Our family, we go out there a lot in the winter. We cross-country ski. And to put in a little plug, my son, he ran the little kid sprint and came in second, so very, very proud of him. And then we had to take off to church, so I didn't get to see you finish, Mayor, but I'm sure it was great.
I also came in second, yeah. I'd second the last.
And I will say, last time I did races, it's been a while due to injury. I did win it. I did win the overall women, so it's been a while. One of these days. So, but just for all that participate and take, it's a fundraiser for the Nature Center and just wonderful. A bigger thing I want to share is I really want to highlight an organization in our community. It's a very special week. So we often talk about, we are an economic powerhouse, and we are in Troy, and we talk about our businesses. But I always like to talk about, we also have amazing nonprofits. We have nonprofits who are leaders in the county and the state and the nation. And one of those nonprofits, it was a place where I used to work, is the Kresge Foundation of Big Beaver. And they're one of the leading and oldest foundations in this country. And tomorrow, they celebrate their centennial, 100 years as a foundation. They have made their home, I don't have the exact date since when they moved from Detroit into Troy, but their iconic headquarters that you see, this LEED Platinum beautiful building, they've been there since 1984. So I just want to celebrate them. They're a foundation that was founded June 11th, as you may know, by Sebastian Kresge. That is the SS Kresge 5 and Dime. You might know that. It was before my time, but became Kmart. I did grow up with Blue Light Specials. My parents said I was a Blue Light Special. It was a joke. So I grew up with Kmart. And Kmart's come down. So there's something of nostalgia as I think of Kresge and Kmart. But they celebrate tomorrow, and they started with an endowment of $1.3 million, and now they have an endowment of like $4 billion. They've given away $5.1 billion in grants since they were founded, and over $1 billion around Detroit, which is their home base. So just proud of them, proud in the way that they always show leadership to the wider community in this nation. They always showed me that community is at its best, and when you come together and you find partnerships between the public, the private sector, nonprofits, that's how you problem solve. And they showed leadership by setting the table, by bringing people together when others couldn't. They showed leadership by stepping up and investing in things, including in Detroit and otherwise, when no one else would invest in it. And they showed leadership by speaking up for things when no one else would speak up for things. So I salute them. I will forever, they will hold a special place in my heart. I would not be in Troy if it wasn't for Kresge. They moved me and my husband and his plants in a U-Haul halfway across this country about a decade ago. So Kresge brought me to Troy, so I salute them. I salute them on their centennial and for all of who they are, and they will continue to be.
Thank you. Additional council comments. Councilmember Chanda.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I also wanted to mention the Run for Nature. We went together. I also came second, but second from last, actually. Just kidding. I just walked. I saw Mayor running, but this is actually a very good example of how our enterprise model is working for the Nature Center. I mean, fundraisings are extremely important, and a friend of mine actually, I brought him to the walk, and he right now wants to volunteer for the Nature Center, so he just signed up to volunteer. So these are wonderful events. Day after or Thursday, right? Thursday we have the opening of the pavilion, so that's another gem of our city that I'm looking forward to, and I believe many of you are. This is the park, literally you can see it from here. So a lot of good things are happening in Troy, but as was mentioned, we also have a lot of challenges, so we're going to do both. Face the challenges and celebrate the good things.
Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so just a quick question to city management. So Walter Storrs, when he was talking about the stormwater drainage and all of those issues, it just made me kind of think about our sustainability plan and kind of building and thinking about resiliency. And I was just wondering kind of where we're at with that whole process.
Absolutely. We have been working with the agency that's administering the EECBG to finalize that process. We have been attending webinars to get all set up so that once it's approved, we're ready to go ahead and start working with a consultant to develop that plan.
Thank you. I just thought about it. So.
Additional comments? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
Just wanted to mention in addition to everything that we're talking about, public safety remains a huge priority in the city. Last week, our police and fire teams were a key part of enabling and helping to bring about what is called an active assailant conference, where first responders come together to learn the lessons from other communities and other departments that have faced challenges to help prepare so their communities can be prepared. There's a component for elected officials. I attended again this year, learned a ton again, but one of just a highlight takeaway is walking in, checking in, proactively having one of the conference organizers who is from outside Troy come to me and just tell me how great our fire and police personnel had been in supporting all the work that goes into a very important conference that is key to the multi-jurisdictional response that occurs. Unfortunately, we've seen it in action with Oxford. We've seen it at MSU. Know that our first responders study, learn, work to understand how best to be able to respond. And also there are discussions about prevention in the first place, very importantly. So another hat tip to police and fire for your ongoing work on being leading edge in public safety.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick. Additional council comments? A couple, actually, they've been touched on a little bit, but I wanted to add a couple other things. A lot has happened in 3 weeks, and it'll be really hard to go back, and I won't subject you all to that and talk about the good things that have happened in the city in the past 3 weeks. But yes, was it yesterday? It was yesterday. The Run for Nature yesterday morning. I've done it every year that it's been here, and I've gotten slower each time I've run it, by the way, full disclosure. But the thing that fascinated me most about this time is that I always do a welcome from the stage before we get started, or right before the instructions for the race. And this year I asked how many people there were here for the first time, doing this race for the first time. And more than half the hands went up. And I thought that was a really interesting experience to know that that many new people were coming to the farm for the first time and paying attention to the nature center. And it sounds like we're hearing that people are, oh, I want to do more here, I want to volunteer. I just thought that was a really interesting statistic, and it is a beautiful experience to see our community come together and to have run, to walk, just to hang out. There's a lot of good sponsors that are there, and that farm is truly beautiful, and when you're in it, you have no idea that you're 10 minutes from Somerset, and it's really a unique experience, and I'm very thankful to all the volunteers that make it a successful event. And I'm also thankful to the facilities folks from the city of Troy who work really hard to map out the course, to mow it things a certain way, to make sure it's very clear. And I heard a lot of comments from people this year who were repeat runners or walkers, that this was the best the course has ever been, and it was the best marked, and they were really appreciative of that, which I thought was a good thing to hear. Councilmember Chanda mentioned Thursday night at 6 p.m. Is the official dedication and grand opening of the Gene M. Stein Community Park Pavilion and roller right now, ice rink in the future. There will be we'll do a dedication ceremony. There will be a food truck there, food if you want to get some dinner out there. It's supposed to be nice and hot, so enjoy the outdoor weather. There will also be ice cream that the city's providing if it doesn't melt. But there'll be DJ. It'll be a nice community event. Bring your rollerblades, bring your roller skates if you want to skate. I won't be doing either of those because I think that could be a bad scene. But I'm excited that we're finally at that point. I'll have plenty to say that evening, and although I'm trying to keep my remarks short because that's not why people will be there, but I keep hearing more people that I need to thank because there's a lot of people that were involved in this process, and I really do want to make sure people know how much we appreciate all that they've done to make this come true. This a reality. I do actually have a question about that, and I'm going to ask you, Bob, but if you want, maybe Kurt's the right person to answer, but it dawned on me that parking is always an issue, and on a hot night when the aquatic center is likely to be full, there'll be people playing tennis, that lot will be full. Are the smart buses, is that lot going to be full of smart cars? Where's the best parking options? And if we're trying to start at 6 o'clock, that means people should get there early.
Okay, the recreation director's saying the aquatic center won't be open for open swim that day, so there will be parking available
We're going
there.
to be so upset when it's 89 degrees. There's good news in parking, bad news in swimming. Okay, so there'll be plenty of parking then at the aquatic center. I guess that answers my question. But anyway, please join us. It'll be a great community event. I'm beyond excited, honestly, to be celebrating this and doing it. So.
When will the food trucks be there? Just for reference.
You hungry, David?
I mean, my daughter will be.
I don't know. Is Cindy still here? Because she would know the answer to that. We'll find out, and I'll post it on my social media. Oh. What time will the food truck be arriving on Thursday evening? Hopefully between 5 and 5:30. So. The food truck barbecue.
All right, I'll let my mom know she's gonna be there.
Farmers market doesn't start until June 19th, the following week, right? Farmers market opens, good comment. So farmers market opens next week on it's new night Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Also at the Gene M. Stein Community Park, different part of it, but that's a new thing. Thank you for that reminder. Cindy, thanks.
I know, I just-
June 19th at 3 o'clock, and Wednesdays will be the new farmers market date. All right. I feel like I could say so much more, but I don't want to. So, anybody else? All right. I don't see that anybody signed up for public comment for items on or not on the agenda for members of the public outside of Troy, and we don't have a closed session this evening, so we're adjourned.